To begin with do, re, mi.
Do, re, mi.
Do, re, mi. The first three notes just happen to be do, re, mi.
Do, re, mi.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Oh, let's see if I can make it easier. Do, a deer, a female deer. Re, a drop of golden sun. Mi, a name I call myself. Fa, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread. La, a note to follow. So, tea, a drink with jam and bread. That will bring us back to do. Oh, oh, oh.
Do.
A deer, a female deer.
Re,
A drop of golden sun.
mi.
A name I call myself.
Fa.
A long, long way to run.
So, a needle pulling thread.
La,
La,
a note to follow. So, tea,
a drink with jam and bread.
that will bring us back to do.
A deer, a female deer. Ray, a drop of golden sun. Me, a name I call myself. A long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread. La, a note to follow. So, tea, a drink with jam and bread.
That will bring us back to do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So do.
Yay.
All
Good job.
right.
Bravo.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening for our session on intervals. And I'd like to introduce Priya Nancy Long, who is going to be one of our presenters, as well as Charlie Marge. And I hope that you are ready to learn lots of great things tonight. And we are so happy to see all of you here. I was wondering if I could ask Chris Hallway, would you mind opening with a prayer for us, please? Chris Hallway, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you say open with a prayer for us,
I
please?
will.
Thank you.
Okay. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Almighty God, our help and refuge, fountain of wisdom and tower of strength, who knows that we can do nothing without thy guidance and help, assist us, we pray, and direct us to divine understanding and accomplishment, that we glorify your holy name in all that we do, in all that we sing, in all that we understand. As we move into our Lenten season, as we continue to learn more and more about our life in the church, our communion with you, and the celebration of your holy words in song and praise. For you are our God, and we are your people. We call upon your name, and we glorify you now and forever, and to the ages of ages. Amen.
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate
you.
that. Beautiful. All right. Well, without further ado, take it away.
Thank you, Marina. And thank you all for joining us. It's great to see a nice long list of people with us. So today, Charlie, if you want to go ahead and display the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
We are going to, was this sent out? Do you know?
It was. It was sent out. What I will say is we recommend that you print out the one that says SMI solfege scale, and you can print out the exercises if you like as well, because we'll give you an opportunity to use your pencil and write some things out. So so feel free to do that if you like, but at least that one pager might be helpful.
Yes. So thank you. So as we were brainstorming some of the sessions that we might have, we were thinking that a session on interval training would be helpful And, excuse me, we're talking about doing a session on interval training for Byzantine chant. And through our conversation, we decided that we thought it would be great to do a combined session. So Charlie and I have been working, and a little bit surprising to me, maybe not so much to him, there are a lot of commonalities in how we would train singing, sight reading, and sight ear training using Western music theory and using Byzantine music theory. So Charlie and I have been working together to put together this session, and we're going to take you all through it, and hopefully you will learn some things. If you're more of a Western music theory person like me, maybe you'll learn a few things. I'm sure you will learn a lot, really, about the Byzantine style. And then if you are a Byzantine person, maybe you will pick up a few tips about the Western music style of interval training. So without further ado, let's go to the next slide. Here we have staff, and just to lay the foundation, we are going to be using the Western music notation for all of this session. We are going to be looking at some of the Byzantine neumes, but not anything, well, not for the most part, we will be reading the music from the Western notation staff. So here we are looking at just a scale that is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then coming back down. We're going to sing that in a minute. And then with the syllables at the bottom. So I'd like to ask everybody to mute yourself, and we're going to sing this together. We're going to sing it on a neutral syllable. We're just going to sing that first all the way up the scale and all the way down the scale, sort of like how Julie Andrews just sang it for us a few minutes ago. So we're going to start here, and we're not necessarily singing on a C. We're going to sing probably start it a little lower than a C so that it's comfortable for everybody to get up all the way up to the top. But we're just going to sing neutral syllable, loo, 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 la, 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 me, 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 whatever is comfortable in your voice. And we're going to start here. Ready? Loo, 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 loo. So we are making the assumption that you sort of know this much. Okay? Can I see a show of hands? Do people pretty much know, like looking at the scale of C scale? It's not totally foreign, I hope. Okay. The hands I see look good. That's good, good. I'm seeing a lot of, okay. So now we're going to be learning the syllables. So we're going to sing this through one time on the Western syllables that we call solfege. And then we are going to sing it one time on the Byzantine syllables called paralagi. Did I get that right, Charlie?
Perfect. Perfect.
Paralagi. So we have solfege and paralagi. So let's do with the solfege, everybody. The words are, and I'll just speak them a minute. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, we're going to sing it like that. Everybody with me. Ready? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. How did that go? We all good? Okay, Charlie,
Yeah.
take it from here.
Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with the paralagi or the Byzantine note names. One thing I'm going to ask, we're trying to be as interactive as we can in this session for you. So we encourage you to use your cameras, because we will be asking questions and checking with you guys to see how things are going and stuff like that. But we do want you to stay muted. So cameras on, but voice off. Because we want you to sing, but you know what happens when you try to sing on Zoom, it doesn't work. So let's pronounce these first. So you're familiar with these. Obviously everyone's familiar with these from the movie, right? Ni, pa, vu, ga, vi, ke, zo, ni. Ni, zo, ke, vi, ga, vu, pa, ni. Okay. Let's use the same pitch. Ni, pa, vu, ga, vi, ke, zo, ni. Ni, zo, ke, vi, ga, vu, pa, ni. Very good. Very good. All right. Nancy?
Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we're going to talk about solfege and then paralagi, and in a sort of a side-by-side fashion for the next several slides, actually. So solfege is a technique that we use to teach sight reading and listening skills, ear training in the Western music theory world. We have two ways that we sing solfege. One is called movable do, where the tonic note or the root of the scale is always do. So if we're in the key of F, S is do. If we are in the key of D minor, the D is do. And you can also use the numbers 1 through 8, which we'll do one exercise later on with that. Then we also have fixed do, where C is always do, no matter what key you're in. So if you're in the key of G, G is sol. Key of F, F is fa. So we're always relating to the C note as being do in a fixed do. Now, normally when I discuss solfege, or when we do some solfege exercises in my sessions, I stick with movable do, because then we're in a key and the key is always do. But for the purpose of this evening, we are keeping ourselves in fixed do so that the C note is always do. And it's going to just help us make the connection between solfege and paralagi, and it's just going to make it easier. So we're going to be in D major and everything is fixed do, and it will change maybe a tiny bit at the very end. We'll still be in fixed do, but it's going to be really in a different key, so it will be a little different. So Charlie, tell us about paralagi.
Right, so paralagi is just the Byzantine version of solfege, okay? It's used for the same purpose, okay, to be able to teach sight reading and listening skills with intervals and all of that. When we talk about movable do in solfege, and we think about that concept in paralagi, the tonic note of a Byzantine chant composition depends on what tone you're in and what scale is being used. So for example, tone 8 sticker arc, the tonic note is always ni. And by tone 8 sticker arc, an example would be like, oh Lord God, I have cried out unto thee. Yeah, that's an example of that. But where the bass note is always, the main is always the ni down there. So in Byzantine chant, you would never, if you were if you were singing a particular chant piece, you would never have a situation where the tonic note wasn't called ni, okay? But what's movable about it is the fact that even though you always call it ni, it doesn't mean you have to sing it on a particular pitch, okay? Now we always write it as ni equals C when you see it on the music there. But even as Nancy was saying before, when we were just practicing do, re, mi, she said, I'm not necessarily going to sing a C. Well, that's kind of how Byzantine chant works, is that we're going to call for the bass note of tone 8 sticker arc, we're gonna call it ni. That doesn't mean we're singing it on a C necessarily. You know, we could start on an A, or we could start higher on a D or an E or whatever. So what's movable about the paralagi is you can choose whatever pitch you want, but in a particular context of a particular type of tone, the same note is always going to be called the same thing, okay? However, there's a concept of fixto that also applies here, in that what we've done, or at least what the world has done, or at least the English-speaking world has done, that uses Western notation, is that when we write Byzantine music in Western notation, we've standardized, you know, to write ni as C and pa as D, so that it'll be easier for people to recognize melodic patterns and things like that. Of course, those of us who are familiar with Western music and transpositions could look at something and could just sing it and say, oh, it's just written in a different key. But for Byzantine music, everyone's really standardized on, let's always write ni as a C and pa as a D, and it just makes it easier for everybody. Both the people reading the Western notation naturally, and for people who read Byzantine notation who are trying to read something that's written Byzantine but in Western notation, it's a lot easier for them to understand, because they're always going to be looking for ni equals C. So both concepts are kind of there in the paralagi as well, but there's a stronger sense of, you know, for a particular tone, we know what ni is, we know what pa is, and where it functions, you know, within that tone. But we can sing it at any pitch that that we like.
So Charlie, there was a question in the chat.
Yes.
So does that mean that paralagi is more closely related to fixed do?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it that way. I would say, in principle, paralagi is it's a movable do system in terms of where the fact that you can pitch it wherever you want. But there are aspects of it that do make it fixed. So it's not a one-to-one correspondence here, but both concepts really play in here. It's useful to think of both. It's in the way we write it in Western notation, we definitely write it as a fixed do, with the intention that you're not necessarily going to sing it you don't have to sing it on the pitch that we put it in the staff. So I hope that
Thank you.
answered that question. Yeah.
So let's move on. Oh, did you finish? Yeah. So this is the same as the first slide that had notes on it. And we're going to once again talk through the bottom staff. And just wanted to mention that this is all stepwise. You see how there's just one, every note is going by steps. So our initial exercises that we're going to be doing will be all stepwise, and they will get a little more complicated as we go. And then we will start doing some that are not stepwise, that are jumps, and then that are tunes. But in the meantime, we're going to talk a little bit about intervals. So we came here to talk about intervals. So there is a relationship between all of the notes, and that is called an interval. So between the first and the second and the third and the fourth, those are all seconds or whole steps or half steps. But between the first one and the third one and the fifth one, those are thirds and they are jumps. So let's go to the, actually, let's just go to the next slide and start talking about the intervals. So in Western music, so just take a look at how this is set out here for you so that you can kind of get familiar with it. We have the interval name on the left, what it looks like, what we call it in the second column, some tunes that we use to help us get familiarized with the intervals. And then we have the note, what we call it in paralagi. And then we have the interval. I said with a note, it's the interval, how that looks in Byzantine chant. So this first one is called unison, where we're singing the same note. So it's do and do. So like, well, the example is twinkle, as in twinkle, twinkle. So the first twinkle is a demonstration of unison. So here's do and here's do, and that's unison. And if everybody sings that together, actually, why don't you unmute and everybody just sing do and
Well, wait, you muted, Nancy.
yeah, I did.
Yeah, no, we don't. Yeah, we don't want people to
Everybody
unmute because it'll be a cacophony.
But if we're all singing just one time,
We're on this, all on the same note. It'll work.
Oh, okay.
yeah, on the same note. Yeah,
Won't
we're
be
all
the
singing
same
do.
time. It'll be the
Just
same
ready,
note, though.
sing,
Okay.
everybody. We're going to sing a unison do on this note. Ready? No. That's right. That's right. Okay, now mute yourself. Mute yourself again. Thanks for humoring me on that. That was a unison. And when we speak of singing in unison in choral music, we're all singing the same note. So go on, Charlie. Tell us about paralagi.
Yeah. So the equivalent here would be ni. So yeah, if you want to unmute, we could all say ni together. Ready? Ni. Okay. And so that would be ni. And what's interesting about Byzantine notation is that the symbols actually tell you how many steps you should go up or you should go down. And this symbol is actually called an unison. And that word is actually contained in the word unison. Okay, so take out the UN and you have the word unison. Okay, which basically means, stay on the same note. So twinkle, as in twinkle, twinkle, little star, twinkle. And so as we go through these, we'll talk about the concept a little further. But the way Byzantine music works, you really have to know your intervals because the symbols here tell you how many steps you're supposed to go up. So the only way you can sing in Byzantine notation, you have to know your intervals. So.
Thanks, Charlie. Okay, so the next interval and how this is organized, when I did the class in the summer, I organized the intervals according to perfect intervals, major intervals, minor intervals, and other intervals. So we decided that would be a good way for us to continue this discussion for today. So the first perfect interval, well, the smallest one after a unison is a perfect fourth, and it's from do to fa, 1, 2, 3, 4. When you talk about a fourth, you talk about when you count through the notes of a fourth, you count both notes and all the notes in between. So do, re, mi, fa, 1, 2, 3, 4, do, fa. And the examples we have here, here comes the bride, or amazing grace. Or an example of coming down is, oh, come all ye, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you count it going up or you count it going down. and that's a perfect fourth. Charlie?
Yep. And so it's the same idea. If you're counting up the scale, it'd be ni, pa, vu, ra, ni, ra. And in the Byzantine symbols, this symbol actually means go up a fourth or go up 3 steps in the scale. So you're going from the C, from ni, pa, vu, ra. You basically count up 3, and that's how you get to ra. And if you're going down, there's a different symbol that tells you to go down, but it's the same idea. Let's go down 3 steps or go down a fourth. These perfect, all of these intervals, or say some of these intervals really play a key role in certain tones. The perfect fourth is really important in a couple of tones. And I'm just going to give you some examples. It's the characteristic interval, for example, of tone 1. When we sing hymns like, "O Lord, save thy people," right? "O Lord." When you get into tone 1, there's often that jump of a fourth, a perfect fourth. Also, Christ is risen. "O Christ is, O Christ." And that's tone 5. Really important interval, to be aware of. Also, it occurs. You also see that interval of a perfect fourth a lot in tone 7. "Arise, O God, arise." Okay, it's different syllables in the paraligi, but that interval is still a perfect fourth, and so these intervals are so important for really making being used in certain characteristics of the tones. Okay, Nancy.
Okay, now we move on to a perfect fifth, which is 5 notes. So do to sol, or do, re, mi, fa, sol, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our example, once again, it's twinkle, twinkle, because we go from the twinkle to the twinkle, which is on the 5th. Twinkle, twinkle. How about everybody? Let's just start doing these real quick. Twinkle, twinkle. Everybody on mute. Twinkle, twinkle. 1, 5, do, sol. Okay, and then the Flintstones theme. I don't know. I'm dating myself, I guess. Flintstones, beat the Flintstones. Right, that's a 5th down. And I will say, I acknowledge that it's hard to, if you are sight reading music and you see that there's a 4th up, it's kind of, with practice, easy to get to "Here Comes the Bride" in your head. But it's hard to, if you see a syllable going up, 4th going down, it is harder. I mean, I acknowledge that it's harder, but the more that you practice these things, the more that it will come to you. So you might not immediately think Flintstones, there's a 5th, Flintstones. But with some practice, you might. So go on, Charlie.
Yeah. So the same idea. A 5th would be going from ni to thee if we were starting on ni. Ni, pa, vu, ra, thee. Ni, thee. Ni, pa, vu, ra, thee. Ni, thee. And there's a different symbol for going up 5 steps. Or rather going up 4 steps, or a 5th, or going down 4 steps again, or going down a 5th. But I'll use the Christ is risen example again. Even though it starts and going to a 4th, it lands on the 5th. "Oh, Christ is," you're going from the bottom note to the top note. Da, 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 da. That 5th is a really dominant interval that we hear in tone 5, for example. So, all right.
So our last perfect interval is an octave, and it goes from do to do. And we did sing an octave with all of the notes in between when we sang do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, but that was not real. We'd have to leave out all the notes to really make it an octave. So do, do, or somewhere over the rainbow. For your down example, it starts out with a fourth. There's no business like show business like. So we're starting on what would be like the G or the fifth of the chord. There's no business like. And so it's bum bum somewhere. That is your octave. Charlie?
Yeah, and so that would just be going from ni, ni. No real chant examples I can think of, where that happens. There are some pieces that's there. Obviously, there's a symbol. There are a symbol for it. What's interesting here is that the symbol here for going up a whole octave is simply the combination of going up a fourth and then going up a fifth. Okay, see, it's like this. It's this combined thing. It's kind of neat. If you think about it, you go ni pa vu ga, that's your fourth. Vi ke zo ni, and that's your fifth. And so the symbol here is just a combination. And it's the same thing when you're talking about going down. You have this symbol for going down a fourth, this symbol for going down a fifth. You put them together, you have the symbol for going down a whole octave, because an octave is a fourth plus a fifth.
So Charlie, that second ni there has an apostrophe by it. Is that, tell us about that.
Yeah, it's typical when people are writing out the note names that if it's a higher octave, though, you'll put a little apostrophe there to indicate that's a higher ni, so that then it's not ni like the same ni, but it's ni.
Yeah, so you Western people, it's almost like, the little 8 VA, that you might have over
Right.
over something. I mean, it's not the same, but it's
Yeah.
same concept.
Yeah.
Charlie, Nancy?
Yes.
There's a question from Catherine, wants to know what makes these perfect fourths in contrast to what? So maybe you could describe, what does it mean to be perfect?
Yeah, well, that's good. I'll let Nancy take that first, and I have a few things. I'm sure I'll have a few things to say about that as well.
Okay. I should have talked about that at the beginning. There are no other varieties of them. So for one, when you get into thirds and sixths and sevenths, you have major, minor versions of them. There's not a major fourth or a major fifth or a major or a minor octave. They are what they are. They also occur first in the harmonic series. So it's been a long time since I studied the physics of sound, but when you hear a note, when a note is sounded like a low note, it has a number of additional notes that you hear even though you don't hear them, that are just part of the sound. And depending on what kind of instrument or voice has sounded that note, you might hear a more fuller array of all of what they call the harmonics that occur over a note. So if you hear a note that's a low C, this is not a low C, I'm just giving you an example. If you hear a note, bum, the next thing that you hear is bum, an octave above it. And that is the perfect octave. And then the next note that you hear, and we don't actually hear this, but the people that study sound have parsed this out, and they know that this is fact. So we have the bass, or not the bass note, but the fundamental. That's what they call it, the fundamental. And then you have an octave above it, and then you have a fifth above that. So that's where you get your perfect fifth. And then you have a fourth above that. That gives you your your perfect fourth, but that is, like Charlie was just saying, a perfect octave above the first octave and the fundamental. And then once you get that far, then you start getting into smaller increments of notes that you are hearing, of intervals. So it's an octave, and then a fifth, and then a fourth, and then a major third, and then a minor third, and then it starts getting, and I don't remember.
Yeah.
Charlie might know. Charlie's an engineer.
Yeah. No, but if you've ever been in a reverberant church and you're singing and you're particularly in tune, you can certainly hear this if you make a recording and listen back to it. Say you have a recording of just men and you hear something that's up in the women's octave, and you're like, where is that coming from? Well, you actually can hear it in certain spaces, and if the intonation is right on, you know things are really good. When intonation is really, really good in a group, suddenly you can hear these harmonics. And it sounds like you're hearing everyone singing an octave above them where they are, in addition to singing where they are. And that's because these harmonics come into play, which is really cool. And there are certain of the Byzantine tones, as I said, that really make use of, the perfect fourths and fifths. And even in the practice of unison, to have unison in octaves, if you sing the lower octave, there's a little bit of that upper octave in there, in a tone like tone 2, where you have the octaves and the G's. You sing that low G. Part of what's in your voice there is a harmonic of that upper G there, it's really cool when you can hear these extra notes, especially if you're in tune and in a reverberant place.
Well, that's what Marina is calling overtones. Okay, and she also had a question there before too. Sorry, I missed it. So does that mean that paralegi?
Yeah, we answered that question already, Chris.
You did. Fixed-o?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
That's okay.
What was your answer?
It's a little bit of both. Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah.
Some people might recognize the word overtones as a more common terminology, that they hear other tones above what they're already hearing, and they're all within the intervallic system that we're singing. So yeah, just a thought.
Right. And so
the perfect, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The perfect octave, the perfect fifth, and the perfect fourth are the first notes that you hear in the overtone series. So thank you, Marina. That is another term that is commonly used. And I have a question that came to me. What about diminished and augmented fourths and fifths? So there is such a thing as diminished and augmented fourths and fifths. I removed, Charlie, based on our conversation, I did remove the augmented fourth and the diminished fifth from this presentation because they're unusual. We do sing them. They're not very common in Byzantine music. And so we made the decision to remove them. They are a thing. They're a real thing.
You know what the real reason is, right, Nancy, is because the tritone is called the devil's interval. We just can't talk about that in a sacred music class,
It's a great interval, though. I mean, it really is, and it is used a lot in Western music. Not so much in singing, but more in the harmonic aspects of the music. I mean, we do sing the diminished fifth, augmented fourth, but not as often. They aren't as common. So my apologies to the person that is, any of you who might be missing that. We're not talking about it today.
Yeah.
Well, we just didn't talk about it.
It's just so uncommon for sacred music, so.
Right.
A couple more things about the concept of perfect interval, because these are perfect intervals, one of the things that's really characteristic about them is when you're singing them, they really have to be right on. Otherwise, you really notice that they're out of tune. Okay, you really have to have those fourths and fifths, lined up. And they play a very important function in the, as I said, in the Byzantine scales just as well as in the Western scales. The Byzantine scales, if you start talking microtones, you're talking about microtones and some of the other things, but you still have those key distances that are, perfect fourths and perfect fifths. If you sing something like Christ, like I was saying before, like, oh, Christ is, and you're landing on that, you've got that perfect fifth where you're landing there. You get all the overtones too, with everyone singing that together. It's very, very powerful. These are very, very strong intervals that come up a lot in certain modes, certain tones.
So one other question came in. So the overtones are like the harmonic notes on a violin. So I'm gonna take a shot at this when I'm not sure. Maria's not here to answer this question for me, but I think that when you are playing those harmonic notes on a violin, you are somehow reaching into an octave overtone of the note that normally would come out of that string. Can anybody explain, Charlie?
I just answered the question yes, because I believe that's exactly what we're hearing there,
Sorry. Yeah.
So
okay, are we done?
We're done with perfect intervals. Now let's move on to the major intervals.
Great questions, people. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we are trying to fill in some more of those notes of the scale, of the C major scale. So we've hit C, F, G, and C. So now we have to fill in the blanks. So a whole step, or a major second, or do, re, is from the C to the D. And that song is Happy Birthday. Or the song, another example, is Yesterday. That is your whole step down. Happy Birthday is your whole step up. Do, re. Charlie?
Yep. Ni, pa. Yeah, it's the same idea there. We have these aren't, and I should also say, these aren't the only symbols that we have for going up one step. They're the most basic ones. So just to keep this simple, just to illustrate the concept that a symbol can mean go up a step or go down a step. So ni, pa, or sometimes you might hear someone getting into tone one. So ni, pa, pa. That's that interval right there.
Awesome. Okay, so then we have our major third, which is do to mi, and that's where we're skipping the re and we're singing do, mi, do, re, mi, do, mi. And one of our examples is Kumbaya, my Lord. That's just a major chord. Or, oh, when the saints go marching in. That's your second up example. Some of these, it's hard to come up with more than one example, but sometimes somebody knows, like younger people might not know Kumbaya or oh, when the saints eat. I don't know. But your down example of a major third is the Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Bum, 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 bum. That is a major third. It's not a minor third. It sounds minor, but it's a major third down. So there's your major third. Bum, bum. Go ahead, Charlie.
And then that would be ni, vu, or ni, pa, vu, ni, vu. And there's a syllable for going up two steps, either written like this or like this, and then going down two steps. That's what this symbol would indicate. One thing that we'll find that's interesting when we get to the next page is This just means 2 steps. It doesn't necessarily mean a major third. It just means 2 steps on whatever scale you happen to be singing. So that's one of the differences we'll see when we get to the next page. You're on mute, Nancy.
Thank you. So a major sixth is the next blank that we need to fill. Remember, we have talked about do, re, do, mi, do, fa, do, sol. Now we have do, la. Do, la, my bonnie lies over the ocean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, counting the first note and the last note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other very common up is NBC. For those of you who are familiar with that little jingle from the NBC station. And then a major sixth going down is nobody knows the trouble I've seen. So there's your major sixth up and down.
Yeah.
Charlie.
And so that's like going from ni to ke. Ni pavuga vi ke, ni ke. Why don't we sing ni ke together while you're on mute there? Ni ke, ni ke. And these are your symbols for going up and down a sixth. You notice this one, this is I've recognized this is the one for going down a fifth plus going down 1, and that you get going down a sixth. So that's kind of cool.
That is cool. I think that is cool. And then we have a major seventh. Bum, bum, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti. You want to try that on mute? Do, ti, take on me. Anybody know that song? Take on me. Yeah.
Then it goes, take me on. That's another one, right?
That's right. That's right. We need the high voices. Good job, Charlie.
That's got them all over the place. So, so that would be like going from nizo. Not that you would necessarily see that all that often, but it's there in case you come across it. Nizo. And the symbols there, this is the one for going up 7. The one that's going down is interesting because again, if you can do math, it's like go down a fifth and then go down two more, and you've got a 7, a 7th there. So.
And like in Byzantine, you don't see a major 7th for a voice to sing that much. We really don't see that. Right. I mean, you can see I didn't even have a down example to share with you or a second up example. It just is not that common. But it is a true interval, and as we're talking about intervals, we need to talk about it. Let's move on. So now here we are getting into the notes that occur in between the notes of the major scale. So in between do and re is re flat, or we also could call ra. This is what we refer to as a half step or a minor second. So in the case of our examples, I left my heart, I left, jaws, da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. That is your half step. We do have that in our music, and in the normal scale, the scale that we sang earlier and we'll sing later, the interval between re, between mi and fa is a half step, and between ti and do is also a half step. So this is something that occurs a lot. We don't have it in the key of C major between C and D flat a whole lot, but we do have a lot of half steps.
Yeah.
So it's coming down a half step. Oh, little town of Bethlehem. That is your half step. Oh, little town of. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh, my symbols got either swallowed up or they disappeared. I'll get them back in here for the PDF that we give you guys of this. But I'll have to go back to the previous page that the symbol for going up and down, whether it's a full step or a half step, just the symbol for one step is just the same. Actually, let me go. Well, I got that. Let me just go and fix that now so that you can actually see that. Let's see. Oh, I know why I can't see it, because, oh, there we go. I have to move you guys out of the way here. Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but I'll copy those guys over right now so you can see them. We'll put them right in there. There we go. Okay, now you should be able to see them in there. Now let me get you guys back so I can see you again. All right, in the chat. See if we have any more questions. Okay. Oh, yeah, someone had a suggestion that Bali High works for one of those intervals. Nancy, you're on mute. But.
Yes, so Bali High, yes. It's not a very common piece, but it can take you to an octave and a major seventh. So Bali, there's your octave, C to C, and then high, Bali high.
Down.
We may call you.
Very good.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Chris.
Yeah.
Or Susie. Oh,
yeah.
Chris rocked it out, Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that was for the Take Me On. But
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
right.
It was.
So, right. So, going up just a half step here, we would use the same symbol. Actually, it's interesting. Same symbol in Byzantine notation is basically saying, go up one note in the scale, whatever that scale happens to be. So this kind of an interval we might see in something like, not necessarily from a C to a D, but maybe from a D to an E flat, in the way that we write tone 6, where you've ever heard of na glory. That's that half step. Okay. All right. You're on mute, Nancy.
I keep trying to be courteous and muting in case there's some ambient noise here, and keep forgetting to go off mute. Okay, so our next interval is what we would call a minor third, or also would be called by the look an augmented second. So a minor third is a combination of a whole step and a half step. So, and an augmented second is the same thing. It's a combination of a whole step and a half step. So in this example of do to mi flat, it's a C, then there's a D, that's a whole step, and then a half step up to E flat. In the second example, it's do, which is a C, and then a whole step up to the D, and then a half step up to the D sharp. So E flat and D sharp are what we call enharmonic equivalents. And so this is another, it's pretty common, because it is in, you find this in minor keys, things that are in a minor key. So in the case of to dream the impossible dream, to dream, bum, bum, bum. That's your minor third. Or what child is this? The first notes. What child? What child? Bum, bum, bum. What child is this? So that is also in a minor key. Coming down, Frosty the Snowman or Hey Jude. Frosty, bum, 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 bum. Or Hey Jude. And something else that's an interesting thing that I learned many years ago about a minor third is it's kind of like the interval of nature. So when, like if you take the na, 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 you know, kids taunting each other or other, it's a very natural, I don't know why, interval that is sung. And when you hear that, that is the minor third. Na, 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 na. I think in your pentatonic scale, and so Marina, you could help me with this, you have the minor third from, you know, bum, 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 bum. I think that's a minor third as well. Bum, 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 bum. So, and you know, the pentatonic scale is a scale that's used a lot in music from many, many countries. So take it away, Charlie.
Yeah, right. And so, so this would be the equivalent of going from ni pa vu. It would be like a flat vu. Okay, we would just call it vu. We'd use the same symbol, but it would just mean in that particular context, ni pa vu, because of whatever scale we might happen to be using, that would be a minor third. I think more important when we're talking about minor third, something that's more familiar to people would be a minor third that actually happens higher in the Byzantine scale. If we're talking about the kezoni, keni, would be your minor third, and we see that in the Evloitaria. Blessed art thou, O Lord. In fact, that top note, da, da, that's actually the pausing point for tone 5. Blessed art thou, O Lord, teach me thy statutes. When you chant in tone 5, you land on ni, na, na. So it's important to remember when we're talking about minor thirds that's a practical application for the tones. And just here, the way that if you're talking about an augmented second, that's a wide interval. As Nancy said, that's a whole step plus a half step. It's really wide. Where we have that wide interval isn't here. I wrote ni pa just to be the equivalent of the do re, but where we really see it is between in tone 6, as I was singing before, da 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 da. So you go from pa to flat vu, and then the sharp ga, da da. Nice wide interval there, very characteristic of our Middle Eastern sounding tones of tone 6, and to a certain extent, also tone 2. So. Take it away, Nancy. Off mute.
I need to just stop. Just stop. So that's do to what we would call la flat. We might also call it lay. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, bum, bum. The Entertainer. Ba, da, da, dum, bum, bum. So that is not including the first 2 notes. Ba-da-dum-bum. I can't get it in my head because here's what I always think of for tone 6. For minor 6, you know the song, we talked about it. My bonnie lies over the ocean. I always think my bonnie doesn't quite make it over the ocean. Turning my bonnie lies over the ocean into a minor song. My bonnie lies over the ocean. I mean, that's what my high school teacher taught us, and that's what sticks in my head. But that's hard to write on something like this. So, Charlie, tell us about minor 6.
Right. And so it'd be like going from ni pa vu ga vi ke So it would be basically a flat K to get you to get you that interval. Again, it would be the same symbols we had before for a major sixth, because again, in Byzantine, the concept isn't that you use a different note name. So Byzantine is kind of closer to this idea, the la flat, a flat la, as opposed to giving it a different, syllable name as you can do in this version of solfege. But the idea is based on whatever scale you happen to be singing, you would know that the K was supposed to be flat. So, all right.
Okay. And then the minor seventh is from do to T flat. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. There's a place for us. Not a lot of examples for that, not a lot of opportunity to sing it, but that's your minor seventh. Charlie.
Right, and the same thing. It's not like you're going to come across this interval a lot in Byzantine chant, but yeah, because you do occasionally come across it, that's why there are symbols for it. Same symbols that we had before for the major seventh, but you're basically going to a flat zo now. Ni, zo. Sing that together with me, folks. Ni, zo. So you get the idea.
In Western music, that interval leads to the note right below. So in the case of do to T, do, T, la, just like happens in There's a Place for Us. There's a place. And it all is a matter of how the chords fall, but the chord would lead you to that la in that case. Anyway, let's move on. It's time to start doing some singing, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. I was just going to say for the major seventh, it was just the opposite thing. Whereas the major seventh, and even that example you had for the major seventh, let's see if I can get back there. Take on me, and it resolves itself up a half a step to get to that octave. Take me on. So because sevenths aren't the most stable. They want to go somewhere. So
that's right. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are. Everybody get on mute.
Yeah.
Everybody get on mute, because here we're going to start singing. So we're going to do this exercise 1. This is exactly like we did before. We're going to sing it right up and right down on Western syllables. So I'm going to lead you through all the Western. Charlie's going to lead you through all of the Byzantine. We're going to do Western and Byzantine back and forth, and that's going to help to keep us from getting confused. So let's start with do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Ready? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, mi, do, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do.
Okay, someone is not muted. So people need to mute for this in order for this to work. So let's try that again.
Yeah, are we sure it's not me?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, no,
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Okay. Okay, let's try it again. Make sure everybody's muted. Everybody but me. Ready? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. How'd you do? Good? Thumbs up? Charlie.
Okay. Okay, we're going to read these note names now. Okay, the paralagi. Ready? Ni pa vu ra vi kezoni ni zo ke vi ra vu pani. How'd you guys do? Okay, all right.
Okay, moving on. So these next ones all kind of build on each other. This whole set is stepwise, and we're going to go back and forth. So here goes do, re, mi, re, do. Ready with me? And do, re, mi, re, do. Charlie.
Ni, pa, vu, pa, ni.
Number 3, let's go. Do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do.
Ready? Ni, pa, vu, ra, vu, pa, ni. How'd you guys do? So far, so good? All right.
Question, there's a question.
Okay.
Can you recite this in a scale where one of these notes would be flat? We don't have much of that. Let's do this number 4, where it's just as written, and then we're going to do number 4, where the mi is flat. Okay, so we're going to do that. Number 4, everybody with me, ready? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, so now we're going to do it with the mi being flat. It's going to be do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Everybody with me.
Charlie, can you annotate and put a flat on that me?
Let me see. Do I got something I can write with? I've never tried writing on this. What is this, draw? Do I draw something?
Yes. If I,
Is there a pencil or something that I can use to draw on this?
it should, never mind. If you don't have the, if he hasn't given us the annotation.
No, yeah, I just haven't, I've never done it before on here. I've got an eraser, I've got format, I've got a draw thing. Let me just see if this.
Do the draw thing and it's the little squiggly line and it'll give you a pen.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it. There you
Yeah,
go.
sort of. There you go.
There it is. Okay.
That's it. Okay, good. So everybody ready? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, did that make sense?
Good.
We could flat anything. We could flat the re and it would sound like this. So don't look, just listen. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Sounds a little bit like tone 6. So,
I like
yes.
it.
Yes.
That was exactly
Okay.
exactly what I was thinking of doing here. It's actually, yeah, it's actually it's like the bottom tetrachord when you're doing tone 2. And you're writing it, and there's that wide interval right in between here. Ni, pa, vo, ra, vi, ra, vo, pa, ni. And then I
So
can
do that one in major with us, Charlie.
Yeah. So let me see now. I've learned. Rena's taught me how to use Zoom better. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to do it in major. Ni, pa, vo, ra, vi, ra, vo, pa, ni. And then if we wanted to do
Okay,
it,
moving on.
yeah, moving on. Okay.
Sorry, Charlie.
Now go ahead.
Number 5. Now here we're getting into a little bit more of the jump. So we go from do, mi, sol, mi, do. Ready? Everybody with me. Do, mi, sol, mi, do.
Which
Try
is
that in the Byzantine.
Byzantine. Ni, vu, thi, vu, ni.
Awesome. Let's do number 6. Ready? Do, mi, sol, la, sol, mi, do. Now in the Byzantine.
Byzantine. Ni, vu, thi, ca, thi, vu, ni. You're on mute, Nancy.
Sorry. Ready? And do, mi, sol, do, sol, mi, do.
Ready? Ni, vu, thi, ni, thi, vu, ni.
Before you guys leave this page, Charlie, can you go back and sing number 6 again?
In the Byzantine?
Yeah.
Ni, vu, thi, ca, thi, vu, ni.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right.
Any questions on this page before we go? Oh, no, here we are. We're on the next page.
Yeah.
Now, this series is, we took away the syllables, did you notice? Here's where now you have to really put on your thinking cap. And if you did print this out and you want to take a minute and put in the syllables, you can do that with a pencil or a pen. Marina.
Or if you want to stare at the screen and give yourself a little bit of a head start, we're only going to do like the first 10 notes. So maybe you can convince yourself what those syllables will be, both in the Italian solfege and in the Byzantine parallelie. So yeah, take a minute to kind of study it. And we gave you this key up here to help you out.
Just Nancy, I think maybe because we've only been doing upward intervals for the most part, just pointing out that in the second measure, just people might be a little confused about what's going on there. Just maybe have a conversation about that.
Yes, thank you. That's a good point. So the scale starts on do and it goes up to do, but it also goes down in the other direction. So just like you see on this example at the tippity top with do, ti, la, sol. So in this case, you would have do, re, do, and then that 5th note is ti, the note right below. And we will also have some that go a little bit lower yet, down to la. So in the case of this example, that first note of the second bar, that's the note below middle C, is a T. And later on, we will have one where we have la, which is on the line below middle C. That is la or K. Thanks, Charlie. And we're going to do this in little pieces. And this is a veritable exercise from a set of exercises that Abuna John shared with Charlie. And what we're going to do is read through each of these snippets. That's like 2 measures and a half or 3 measures on this page and the next page. And then we're going to put it all together because this is all one thing in reality.
Yeah, all comes from one exercise. Yeah.
Right, it's one long exercise. And you can see it is, from what you can see on this page, entirely stepwise.
Right, either step up or
So,
step down.
Right. And it goes, up a little bit, or it stays the same in some cases. Then it goes, number 9 goes up a little bit more, and number 10 goes up a little bit more, and number 11 goes up yet a little bit more. And just like when we go down, it's just, it goes round and round. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa. It just keeps going up. It keeps going down. So in the case of that number 11, the fourth note is re, or, sorry, pa.
Yep.
So it's the second note of the scale. So shall we give it a try? We'll do number 8 in Western solfege.
Yeah, I think
Ready? Yeah, we good, Charlie?
yeah, we're good. We're good. And we're going to stick with the Western solfege through this entire sequence, and then we'll go back and get our heads into the Byzantine after that.
Okay. All right. Number 8. Ready? Do, re, do, ti, do, re, mi, re, do. Okay. Everybody good? Let's go on. Re, mi, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi. Is that the last note? I put the chat on top of it, sorry. And then let's go on with number 10. We started here on mi, so the next note is fa, ready. Fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol. Then we go back up. La, ti, do, re, do, ti, la, sol. We jumping to the next page, okay? We ended on sol, this is fa, ready. Fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi. Going on. Fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Then we're going to finish it out. Re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, ti, do. Re, do, do. Okay, how did it go?
Before we go on, we got a couple things in the chat real quick. Vicky says, do the Byzantine syllables actually mean something, or are they just syllables as that one must memorize? You're on mute, Charlie. You're on mute.
That's a great question. I don't know the official answer to that. In my experience, they're just the syllables that you need to memorize, just like do, re, mi, fa.
Okay, and then there's another question. It says, Catherine says, is this on one of the sent files? I can't find it. Was this part of the sent?
It is. It's part. There were 3 PDFs. One was just with the scale, and the other 2 were exercises, and then more exercises. So we're still on exercises. So it's in the sent files, and we'll be posting it onto the website as well. So.
Shall we go back and try to do this whole set from number 8 through 14?
Yeah.
Sure.
With Western notation. We're going to take a little pause. You can breathe in between each one of these, but probably not quite as much as we did, so we have more of a sense of the continuity of it. So let's go. Ready? This is the note we're going to start on. Do, re, do, ti, do, re, mi, do. Re, mi, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi. Fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol. La, ti, do, re, do, ti, la, sol. Jump to to the next page. Fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi. Fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, ti, do, re, do, do. How'd that go? Thumbs up, folks? How are we feeling? Learning something new? This next one's going to be a challenge for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
So I get it if you're feeling like this is a challenge.
Yeah, I'll go
I'm going to go on mute.
I'll go a little slower for this one. So you've already sung through the music, right? Now you just have to use the different syllables here. So again, the scale is ni, pa, vu, ra, vi, ke, zo, ni. So let's give this a try. I'll make a nice pause here because I know people are going to need to get themselves oriented between each one here. So we're starting with ni, pa, all right? Ni, pa, pa, ni, zo, ni, pa, vu, pa, ni. How did that go for people? Not too bad? Okay, well, let's do that one more time. I'm going to take it up just a little bit where it's a little more comfortable in my voice. So this will be the ni, this will be the ni. Ni, pa, pa, ni, zo, ni, pa, vu, pa, ni. Then we go up a step to pa, pa, vu, ga, vu, pa, vu, ga, vi, ke, vi, ga, vu. And we go up to the fa, to the ga, ga, vi, ke, zo, ni, zo, ke, vi. Ke, zo, ni, pa, ni, zo, ke, vi. Down a step to the ga, ga, vi, ke, vi, ga, vu, pa, vu. And up to the ga, ga, vi, ga, vu, pa, ni. Back on ni, go up a step. Pa, vu, ga, vu, pa, ni. Zo, ni, pa, pa, ni, ni. I know that was hard. How do people feel about that?
Oh, you know, when you go to a Presbyterian church and you know the melody and you're looking at the fifth verse of words and you cannot make your eyes go fast enough. This is so that. I'm sorry.
I confess, I printed out. I printed it out, and it helped a lot to follow it. And when it was going up, so since this is like the scale up and down, when it was going up, I was using this side. When it was going down, I was using that side. It really helped. But it definitely was a lot like being in a Presbyterian church and reading the fifth hymn verse down.
Yeah, and
but that was good.
Yeah, obviously we're not expecting you to get this on the first try. We just want you to try it, understand what's involved mentally in trying to do this. And obviously you're gonna have the PDFs, and you can practice with this. And when we end all of this, we're gonna talk about practice and how practicing this is really the way to get it. Our goal here is just to introduce you to what this is like. And hopefully motivate you to say, I want to learn how to do this because it's fun, and really, really useful. you know, in terms of, you know, understanding your intervals and understanding where you are on a scale and all of that. So I won't make you go through that one again, but we'll go on to the next one. Now this one goes down, and I'll let Nancy take it over from here. But this one actually, we go to an A and a G. So basically, we're going down here, do, ti, la, sol. So this is just written down an octave to get us back here. So this one's challenging just because it goes the other direction and goes below the staff. But I'll let Nancy take it from here.
Okay, so let's just do a tiny bit of musical analysis here before we start. Just to point out to you that in this case, this is again one whole exercise, including 15, 16, 17, and 18. But if you look at 15 and 17, here's a clue, they're exactly the same. So you see that in our music a lot. And if you are studying new music, it's really helpful to review the music in advance and see if you see any commonalities coming through, because we have a lot of it in our music. I mean, think of the cherubic hymn. We have usually, not always, but very commonly, the first three, or verse 1 and 3, are exactly the same with the different words. So that's your little hint for this piece. Again, it's all stepwise. There are no jumps in here at all. So we'll start here, do, ti, la, sol. That's what that will be our first.
Can we start a little bit higher for me? I won't make it.
Do, ti, la. Oh yeah, because it's all low.
It's all low.
Is that okay? Bum, 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 bum. Charlie, is that good?
I'll grind it out.
Let's do it up here. Do, ti, la, sol. So note that that may not be a C. I mean, certainly what we've been singing on most of the time has not been a C. I think maybe we're closer to about a D now, and we were closer to a B flat or an A before. So it doesn't matter. We're just singing it in a place that is comfortable for me, because I haven't been singing very much lately. And Charlie's a higher voice. So bum, 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 ready. We're going to sing it on the Western solfege. Ready with do, do, ti, la, sol, la, ti, do, do. Re, do, ti, ti, do, re, do, do. Do, ti, la, sol, la, ti, do, do. Ti, ti, do, re, mi, re, do, do. How did that go, folks? Are you starting to get the feel of, I mean, I know that when I look at this, I don't need like notes written in. I don't need to use my cheat sheet, because I have practiced this a long time. I'm sure that Charlie doesn't have to look at this and, you know, and think, oh my gosh, I need my cheat sheet. But I do. You know, when we do Byzantine, I need the cheat sheet. So if I practiced, I could do better, and so can you. So don't be disheartened. This is good. It's all good. Take it away.
Good. And I think this exercise is a little bit easier because it doesn't go all over the place. So we're within a pretty tight range here. The hardest part of this is going down on the Byzantine scale. So let's just review that. It's ni, zo, ke, vi. Sing that together with me. Ni, zo, ke, vi. And so that's how this one's going to start. So here we go. Ni, zo, ke, vi, ke, zo, ni, ni. That wasn't too bad, right? Go on. Pa, ni, zo, zo, ni, pa, ni, ni. And then we repeat this one. Ni zo ke vi ke zo ni ni. Zo zo ni pa vu pa ni ni. How people do on that one? Better? Okay. Good. Good. Now we're going to get even more interesting.
Okay, so now we're just going to do a little bit more jumping around. So in this case, we don't start on do. We're going to start on sol, and we're going to sing sol, fa, mi, re, do, sol, do. We'll try it up on your pitch, Charlie. Let's see how that goes when we get to 21.
No, you can reset the pitch here. It's not going below the staff anymore. So, you know, wherever you want.
Let's do it here. Sol, fa, mi, ready. Number 19. Sol, fa, mi, re, do, sol, do. And let's move on to 20. Do, sol, mi, sol, do. And let's move on to 21. Let's see how this goes. Do, sol, mi, sol, do, sol, mi, do. So these last two are all on what would be the triad of the C major chord, which is C, E, and G. How did that go? Charlie, take it away.
Okay, so we're going to be starting on the. So going backwards on the scale. The, ga, vu, pa, ni, the, ni. Okay, ready? Do that with me. The, ga, vu, pa, ni, the, ni. The next one, you already have the ni and the. Ni, the, vu, the, ni. Not bad. Ni, the, vu, the, ni, ni, the, vu, ni. How'd that go for folks? Okay. Oh, I love someone gave me the smiley face with the laughing so hard that they're crying. All right. Okay, and now we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to deal with thirds.
Okay, here we go. Do, mi, re, fa. Ready? Do, mi, re, fa, mi, sol, fa, re, do. Then we're going to take it all the way up. Ready? Do, mi, re, fa, mi, sol, fa, la, sol, ti, la, do, ti, re, do. We could have come back down, but we're going to spare you that. Charlie.
Yeah, this is easier because it's going up. You ready? Ni, vu, pa, ra, vu, the, ra, pa, ni. Okay, now all the way up. Ni, vu, pa, sorry, clear my throat, one more time. Ni, vu, pa, ra, vu, the, ra, ke, the, zo, ke, ni, zo, pa, ni. I know that was a challenge for people, but we needed to do something a little more complicated than just single steps. So
That one was easier because you could just forget about looking down there and just look up here at your little sample thingy and just go back and forth.
Yeah, okay, there you go. All right, that works too. Okay, now we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna sing some songs that you know.
Okay. You probably recognize this song. It's a very common song. We've actually talked about it already twice tonight. So we're going to, we're just gonna like wing it. Do, do, sol, sol, la, la, sol. Fa, fa, mi, re, re, do. Ready? Ready? We'll sing it here. Do, do, sol, sol, la, la, sol. Fa, fa, mi, re, re, do.
All right.
Okay, so this is our syllables put to a common song.
Yeah. And so now let's
have it.
Let's have it in paralagi. Ni, ni, the, ke, the, ra, vu, pa, ni.
And we also can use just numbers instead of syllables to just, you know, stretch our minds. You know, let me just stop 1 second and just say, you know, when people start getting older, like me, they say that you should like really mix up your head, you know, do things that are really contrary to how you normally do things, you know, like eat with your left hand and like learning paralagi.
There you go. That's the real reason we're teaching this, because the average age of this group is pretty high. But
Okay, so let's do this twinkle, twinkle with numbers. Okay, ready? 1, 1, 5, 5, 6, 6, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. And that's just to demonstrate that there are lots of ways that we can do this that don't involve paralagi or solfege. And we, you know, we could do also a neutral syllable. Marina, did you have something to add?
Yeah, just for those people that may not have put 2 and 2 together, or 1 and 5, is that these numbers are talking about what the intervals are. So from the 1 to the 5 are 5 steps. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 5. So it's a different way of teaching music intervallically by using the numbers. So there's lots of ways to do this, like Nancy said, but just in case you hadn't put this together, these are actually showing you what the intervals are, or the numbers of the scales as they go. Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay, thank you. Let's go to the next slide. We're running out of time here. Okay, here's another
we're almost
familiar
done. Yeah.
song. So, ready? We're going to sing it on that note. Let's go a little bit lower. Do, do. And this is in 6/8. You'll recognize it. Ready? And do, 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 re, mi, re, mi, fa, sol. Do, 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 sol, 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 mi, do, 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 sol, fa, mi, re, do.
Isn't that fun? Okay, now we'll do it in paralagi. Ready? Ni, pa, vu, razi. Ni, the, vu, ni, the, ra, vu, pa, ni. Good job.
And gosh, you could do this with any song. You really could. If you wanted to practice your solfege or your paralagi, you really could pick up any nursery song and just dig in. Let's go forward. Okay, so let's start this one by just doing it on a neutral syllable. Your favorite neutral syllable, lu, whatever. We'll start it here, loo, loo, loo. This is starting on the third of the scale, which would be me, but we're not going to sing it on syllables right now. We're just going to sing it on your neutral syllable, whatever you like. Ready? Loo, 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 loo. Loo, loo, loo. Loo, loo, loo. Loo, 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 loo. Anybody not know that song? Let's do it with syllables. Mi, re, do. Ready? Everybody. Mi, re, do, re, mi, mi, mi. Re, re, re. Mi, sol, sol. Mi, re, do, re, mi, mi, mi. Mi, re, re, mi, re, do. I can see some of your mouth. You're doing a great job.
Okay, let's give this a try. We're going to start out Vupani. Ready? Vupani pa vu 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 pa 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 vu vi vi Vupani pa vu 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 pa pa Vupani. That wasn't too bad, right? I can tell it's getting easier for people. This is good. All right. And then the last one.
Okay, we're in the home stretch. So this number 31 is just a little bit of a taste of what we will have in number 32, just to get us thinking in this, what is essentially a new key. We're going to sing with the B flat, but we're going to keep it in that fixed do. So for the solfege, this could be a little bit more of a challenge for folks like me, because I am much more accustomed to using a movable do, but when we're all in the key of C, which so far we have been in the key of C, C is do and it's not moving around. So bum 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 bum. Let's sing this on just a neutral syllable, number 31. Bum, ready. Bum 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 bum. Got it? So let's just figure out what these notes are. The first one is fa, and the second one, we're just going to sing it as a T. We're not going to sing T flat or T. We're just going to sing it just as a T, and that is a technique that is used. That's the technique we're using for today. So we go from fa to T, then we come back down to la, sol, sol, and then re, mi, fa. Okay, sing it with me. Already. Fa, ti, la, sol, sol, re, mi, fa. One more time. Ready? Fa, ti, la, sol, sol, re, mi, fa. Okay, now we're going to do the next on a neutral syllable. Okay, pick your lulu, whatever you want. We're going to get it in your ear before we make you sing the syllables. And you're going to recognize this. Ready? Lu, 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 lu. Lu, 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 lu. Lu, 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 lu. Lu, 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 lu. Lu, lu, Okay, everybody know that tune? I hope you do. This is our tone 8 that we Resurrection Ultraparian. So we're not singing it with the words, we're singing it with the syllables. So let's do our best. We'll take our time. We start on fa, fa, ti, la, sol, la, sol. Okay? Ready? Sing it with me. Fa, fa, ti, la, sol, re, mi, fa, sol. Wait. Sorry. Start on just 32. Don't start on 31. Right at the top of 32, because 31 is not part of the song. Right. Okay. Ready? Fa, fa, ti, la, sol, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, fa. Fa, ti, la, sol, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, fa. Fa, ti, la, sol, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, la, ti, sol, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, fa. Okay, how did that go? Not as well, but Marina.
Marina has to
Can't hear
unmute if
you.
she wants to say
Sorry.
something.
So what was your reasoning for not using movable do? I'm just curious.
Because when you would sing this in the paralagi, you would never sing this ni ga vu pa. It wouldn't exist, because, and this is we did this on purpose, because it emphasizes sort of how it's a different Byzantine chant, because this is tone 8 based on the F, based on Ra, irmologic. The syllables go along with the tone. So when you're in this mode of the tone, the root has got to be Ra. You can't say the root is Ni. It just doesn't make any sense, because and that's the sense, to go back to your earlier question, where there's this aspect of fixed, this idea of sort of fixed do there, that the root of tone irmologic always has to be ga. Okay, whereas the concept of transposition in the Western scale doesn't really apply here, because if we were to do that based on what we've been doing all class and start out on do here, people would say, wow, you would never do that in Byzantine. So that's why we did it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to do the practice exercise first, just to get the syllables somewhat in your mind, and then we'll give it a go here and see how this goes. But what we're going to do is exactly how you would, if you were trying to chant this to somebody in paralagi, this would be how you would do it. You would have to start, on Ra. So this first interval, this Ra, Zo, Ke, Vi, Ra, that's also sometimes used as a mnemonic device for getting people to tone 7, with that interval of a fourth, like I was saying before, Ga, Zo, Ke, Vi, Ga, or something that might be more familiar to you guys, a horse is a horse. Of course. So, okay, so we're going to start Ga, Zo, Ke, Vi. Ga, Zo, Ke, Vi, Pa, Vu, Ra. So we're centered on Ra for this version of tone 8. And here we go. I'll take it slow. Ra, Ra, Zo, Ke, Vi, Pa, Vu, Ra, v'chavura, razo kevi kevi, pavura v'chavura, razo kevi kevi, pavura vi ravi kezo kezo nini zo kevi pavura vi ravura. And that's how you would do it. So that's something you guys can work on and stuff. One of the things I want to show you guys, because you know the question is, so where do you go from here? Obviously, being able to do this takes practice, right? And there are examples for the Western solfege and the Byzantine solfege of how one can build up and really learn how to do these things. And one of the things I want to pull up that I had up, but somehow disappeared on me. So just
Charlie, just before you leave that, I don't know if you're going to need this page for a second. There's a question that says, you spoke of tone patterns or formulas in a recent class. Can you elaborate? I'm not sure if you need this page for that.
Well, no, it's just good while we're here. You asked like the perfect question, Marina, you know, which was, why couldn't you just call this do? It's because every mode has its starting note that you know about. Now, when I've talked about patterns or formulas, they're about things like this, you know, these patterns of notes. And you can see that there are obviously some repeating patterns of notes here, you know, that make this mode what it is. But and those formulas are made up of certain intervals, right? As some of these intervals that we've been talking about. I think the most basic way of describing, you know, how does Byzantine chant work? It's all about the scales, which scale you happen to be using at a certain time. Of course, we haven't really talked much about scales. This is not a class of scales, it's a class of intervals. Scales is kind of a more advanced topic. It's all about scales and formulas, you know, the scales, which tell you what the intervals are between the different notes here. What's the distance between ni and pa and vu and pa and ra? You know, we've been doing it all on a Western major scale here, but there are all these other scales, you know, that pop up in Byzantine chant. But then there's the patterns. You know, it's not just about all these notes, but about what are the patterns of notes. And if you have the scale and you have the formula, that's what makes Byzantine chant Byzantine chant. So that's how I'll answer that question. Now, let me go find what Abuna John sent me earlier. Just bear with me for a second here. Just have to move you guys out of the way. Okay, oh good, that's where it was. Okay, excellent. So now let me maximize this and see if I can make this bigger. Okay, this is an example of a series of exercises. It's in Byzantine notation, but a series of exercises for someone learning baralagi. And to give you an idea of how simple they start. Obviously, for the time we had in this class, we couldn't do anything like this. But just to give you an idea, if it felt like we kind of fed you with a fire hose today, well, we kind of did, just to give you an idea of what this is all about. But some of these start really simple, you know, basically like ni, pa, vu, ra, yeah, and stuff like that. So it starts very simple like that. And I'll show you one of the, as I said, we took some exercises right out of this book and we used them in the class before. I think I have to get down to like page, it was like page, no, it was before that, sorry. I think it was like number, oh yeah, number 10 was that second one we did. Ni, zo, ke, vi, ke, zo, ni, ni. See, that's an actual Byzantine exercise that we transcribed for you into Western notation. And you can imagine also, there's plenty of exercises as well that originate, from solfege. But to give you an idea, there are like 100 examples of how people learn how to do paralegi or solfege. Some of these also involve things like rhythms that we didn't even get into differing rhythms here because we just wanted to teach the concept of intervals and how you put them together in the solfege. But I thought you guys would find that interesting to know that it's very rigorous. So all these exercises you go through, and that's why the takeaway here for you guys is to take these materials and practice with them, and practice, with the scale, and then practice, on these exercises we've given you. And of course, there's plenty more examples of exercises that could be done here. But our goal here is just to give you a feel for what this is like and to show you the commonalities that, when we are teaching the chant classes, we're talking about scales, and we're talking about the role of pa and the in a particular scale. You'll have a better idea of what we're talking about because now you have more familiarity with that. So I'm going to stop sharing stuff on the screen here, and so we can all see each other now,
Right.
and see if there were any other questions that came up. So, but that's what we had prepared for you guys tonight.
And does anybody have, if you have any other questions, you're welcome just to turn on your mic and just ask your question right now if you like. You don't have to write it in the chat if there's anything you would like to ask.
But you can write it in the chat if you want, and that's fine
Yeah,
too.
you can. Yes. All right. Well, I think that this has been fantastic. My mind is blown, but that's okay. Because I'm so terrible at the new system for me. You guys did a fantastic book. I just read the title of the book. K. Marshall asks that, Charlie. The title of the book, I'm assuming that of what you just showed us, maybe?
Yeah, good question. I'll have to ask Deacon John. He just has, the file name is called 100exercises.pdf. And he said these are the exercises that he learned from when he was learning how to do this. So
Abuna John.
Abuna.
Did I say Deacon? No, yeah, Abuna John. Yeah.
The voice comes from us. All right. Well, it is now 8 o'clock.
Perfect.
And we are so happy that you all came and joined us. I hope that you will go on to our Facebook page, which is Antiochian Orthodox Sacred Music. And if you have not joined us yet, please do so. And that's also, if you go over to our YouTube page, which you can also find very easily, you'll find all of our classes that we have been putting up for the last few months. And you can go back and rewatch and see what's going on. If you need to kind of come back in, check it out, do something again, that's a perfect opportunity. Remember, we're always here for you. You can email us at sacredmusic@antiochian.org, and we will get to you. If I don't know an answer, I will be sure to ask somebody else and get back to you. We'll be just trying to be there for you as much as we can. We know this is a difficult time, and we hope that you're all practicing and taking advantage of the time that you have to go ahead and, learn something new. And like Nancy said, keep that mind active and trying out something different and new all the time. All right, and if you need anything else, please don't hesitate to ask. Want to thank Nancy, Hannah Long, and Charlie March for your amazing presentation. Thank you so much for everything. And I know Chris Howard has put the YouTube link right into the chat for us. He's at a rehearsal tonight, but he's paying attention. Thank you, Chris. If you want to go to that link and jump in, and we hope to see you next Tuesday night. By the way, there is a special Saturday that's coming up that is going to be a voice class that is going to be taught by Julia Suzanne and Regina Rome, and they are going to be, it's going to be about a 3-hour class. They're going to give you all kinds of great tips, ways to improve the voice, ways to make everything smooth and more beautiful all the time. So we always have to continue our learning, right? And I know many of us who have been taught in the Western style of music, especially, we started taking voice lessons maybe, or piano or saxophone or whatever it was since the time we were little kids. But we only can continue to improve if we continue to learn and continue to practice and continue to take lessons. So I commend all of you for being here. Thank you. God bless you, and have a great evening. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.